Hi, guys. Thanks, subscribers. Tell everybody else I'd like to have some new subscribers. And if you're watching but you're not a subscriber, I hope you'll just join so we can keep doing this. We're having some fun, if you can call it that, in this pretty stupid and dangerous and depressing era of Trump that just gets stupider and more dangerous and more depressing each day. Um, but as we've talked about before, we can't really rely on our mainstream media anymore to tell us what we need to know, to fact check Trump. They're corporate owned. Many of them have already caved to Trump. So we have to do this. And unless and until Democrats can get their act together, where they will have a formal daily briefing on par with what the White House does, you're kind of stuck with me and a bunch of people like me, some with bigger followings, some with a lot less, and that's how we have to do it. The good thing about that, though, is I think that we all kind of feel like we're in this together. It's a somewhat new phenomenon here in the United States, particularly for those of us of a certain age and older, who never thought this was possible, that this can happen in this country. For slightly younger people, or a lot younger people, the era of Trump has lasted for a decade now, and they're almost accustomed to it. I particularly take note of reporters who have spent the bulk of their years, their careers, in the era of Trump. This makes me sad. We've talked a lot about the good reporters versus the bad reporters. And the thing that we now, we're calling Jeffrey Goldberg of the Atlantic a hero. What he's done is it's amazing. It's useful. Um, he didn't save the information for a book like Jake Tapper or Maggie Haberman, Bob Woodward, people like that. But the fact that we have to take when somebody just does their basic job as a journalist and call them a hero tells you kind of how bad it's gotten. But we're going to keep fact checking. We're going to keep doing this. And I think the other good thing is that we, the people, understand that what we are doing is important, that we don't have to sit back and feel helpless. There's a real activism happening right now. I think we understand the danger. Governor Walz going out there around the country is generating big crowds. Governor Pritzker, we're going to have Pete Buttigieg out there, not behind the lectern like I want, but he's going to be out there. So the people who are actually, AOC and Bernie Sanders, the people who are actually going out there, not just hiding behind their desks, business as usual, which I think is what Chuck Schumer is doing, which is why he needs to go. I'm encouraged that there's real activism, but it also lets us know that we're in trouble. And for them, this is the last ditch thing. But we do have impact. The fact that Trump has now withdrawn, has yanked Elise Stefanik's nomination to be UN ambassador because he wants to keep her in her New York 21 very, very safe Republican seat. Maybe it's not that safe. The fact it's a plus 20 district, plus 20R district, which is considered pretty darn safe. And yet they're pulling her because they're afraid of having a special election there. They are afraid. So that tells me, now I'm just spitballing here, trying to peer around corners. That tells me that some Democrats say, oh, I don't know, in Florida for the special elections are getting a lot of money and may have a chance of adding some Democratic seats to the House of Representatives, further narrowing the margins that Republicans have, which would make it almost impossible for Speaker Johnson to get anything done, which is what we want because he's dangerous and creepy and anti-American and anti-constitutional. And did I mention creepy? So this is what we want. So the fact that we've got these Florida special elections coming up and Trump is in a panic, so he pulls Elise Stefanik because he doesn't want something in upstate New York, is a good thing. And I think it's because we all know what our job is now. So on April the 5th, around every state capital, there's going to be huge protests. Leave our Social Security alone. Leave our Medicare alone. It's ours. And we're even having it in the small town that I'm in Maryland. So we're doing it. My friends and I, literally, these are girls that I was high school cheerleaders with. We're getting together and we're going to our local rally. And these are people, to be honest with you, I never considered them political activists. And for a long time, I don't think I even knew their political affiliation. And I've known these ladies since I was 14 years old. So I kind of feel like something is happening out there, that people no longer say, well, why should I do something? It doesn't matter. Or if they suspect their one little drop in the bucket doesn't matter, they're going to do it anyway. And I don't know how that's going to manifest itself overall, but it is kind of our only chance. So I'm really encouraged and proud of people who generally haven't been political activists who are doing this because they get it. I think it took a long time, and I've talked about that in this space. It took a long time for Americans to really understand how serious this was. Again, because we've never had a situation like this in our lifetimes. We never thought it could happen here. So people kind of were in denial, maybe a little bit numb. And when it first started rolling out with Trump, and we saw how bad this was, we kind of had this deer in the headlights look to us. So the fact that we're kind of now getting our sea legs, our Trump legs, the era of Trump, and ready to do what we can, each of us in our own little corner of the world. It's not just encouraging, it's not just heartwarming. I think it's working. I think it's working. And it's not easy. It is hard work. We have to keep at it. But I do see the changes, which is why I'm one of those people that come on here and I like to highlight each little victory, such as, you know, Republican Senator Roger Wicker, of Mississippi, chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, is so concerned about Signalgate that he is joining the Democrat ranking member of the committee, and he are joining together on a bipartisan basis to doing a letter to Trump demanding an expedited IG investigation of this. Now, Trump's fired all the IGs, but we still have to use every tool in our toolbox. And even if they are unsuccessful in getting this investigation, the fact that they are trying, they're not throwing their hands up and saying no. And you've got a Republican chairman, not a MAGA guy, typically. Uh, Probably the old establishment type that's had Trump shoved down his throat and he's had enough. So this is what we want. And this didn't happen. I mean, I believe that Senator Wicker is concerned, but we've also seen a lot of Republicans in Congress who know what's going on. They know how dangerous Trump and Elon Musk are. They know they're in bed with Putin, but they go along with it because it's more comfortable for them. It's safe. Um, so the fact that we have this Republican committee chairman coming out and doing this is encouraging because if there's one, there will be another, we hope. They have to make it safe to go in those waters. We used to make fun of Mike Pence, for good reason, and he, too little, too late, or whatever. But I do like that Mike Pence has stepped out of his traditional kind of persona and comfort zone and is steps forward as Trump's former vice president, who all those patriots on that day of love in the Capitol as they were killing cops and smearing feces on the walls and the floors and trying to hang Mike Pence. Remember that? Yeah. But he has come out against Trump. He's now found his voice a little bit better and stronger. And where there's a Mike Pence, where there's a Roger Wicker, there will be others. So I think they do it because they know that we're behind them. If we weren't doing our little activism, and you might think it doesn't matter, but it does. So that's what I like seeing, and there's something going on out there. When I'm going to be thinking about this whole thing with Trump pulling Elise Stefanik's nomination as UN ambassador. I'm going to be thinking about that for a while and what that might mean. Do they have internal polling about New York 21, her district, and they think that she could lose? Are they concerned about these two Florida special elections that actually could, they're supposedly, again, safe Republican seats, but everybody's focusing on them. So the Democratic nominees for those races are getting a lot of money. And the polling has them, close enough where I think there's panic in the Trump White House and the RNC over this. So they're probably thinking, all right, we could lose both of these seats, one or both of these seats, which means it'll have this kind of snowball effect. It'll be very big news. People will then see that the Republican margin in the House is I mean, the House is basically tied, and Mike Johnson can't lose any Republicans on key votes. And as long as those Republican members of Congress are more afraid of Trump than they are of their voters, Mike Johnson can corral them. He can keep them together. When they start, like, because people are showing up at their town halls, or they're demanding town halls, or they're going to, Wall's town hall because a Republican won't hold them. So that's where these Republican members of Congress say, "Do am I loyal to Donald Trump? Meaning, do I fear him more than I fear, or am loyal to my constituents?" And they can't say, "Oh, these are all just Democrats being busted in. They know better. That's why they aren't holding town halls." So every little bit matters. And I'm saying this because I think that once you get in the habit of doing this, you're gonna understand the impact that you're having, and you're going to be one of those people that says, "Okay, I'm going to this. I and my spouse and I are going to this. We're gonna each bring along one other person next time." You've heard that for elections. You vote, but also make sure you bring somebody else to vote. I think right now, our mission and our assignment, should you choose to accept it, is to go to these rallies, go to these town halls, make the calls, do the visits to your Republican elected officials and Democrats, show up, be there, and bring other people. Like I said, for me personally, to find out that these gals that I've known all these decades at our ages, again, just regular people not involved in politics, really don't work in politics. They're like, "Oh yeah, are you going? Are you going to go to our protest here in our town hall, our town square?" It's like, "Yeah, yeah." And my career in politics, sometimes, we look at data, we do all this stuff, but sometimes it's that anecdotal stuff when something jumps out at you. Um, you notice it. You might not know right away what it means, but it's meaningful. Yeah, I used to teach this at George Washington University's Graduate School of Political Management when I taught political communication strategy. We start out with research, which is just collecting data, everything you've got, anecdotal stuff, numbers, files, just everything to put it out there because you don't know what's going to be important. But sometimes you start getting a feel for when it feels like the worm's turning a little bit, and for me, I mean, obviously, I do this professionally, but in my personal life, it's what I just laid out to you because it was unexpected. So I just wanted to share that because it might be happening in your corner of the universe as well. But mainly, I think we have to know that what we are doing matters, and I think it appears it's starting to work. It's not easy. It's going to take us a while, but it's worth paying attention to. So I still hope that Democrats take the House. I hope we win both of these seats in Florida. I don't feel sorry for Elise Stefanik, but again, there's information in these key moves. So let's keep thinking about that.